everybody. Welcome back to my channel. If you're a speech therapist or caring for someone who's lost their voice, I want to share something important, not from a textbook, but from real life experience. Because sometimes it's the little moments, like a whispered word, is actually a massive neurological breakthrough. And the way you respond, that matters. That's everything. Welcome back to Diagnosis and Beyond. I'm your host, Angel Marie Carson. I'm a speech-language pathologist, a brain cancer survivor of 16 years, and a mom. I'm going to take you back to the rehab when I first walked into the rehab. I was completely mute. I could not say a word. But my speech therapist, Mike McCormick, met me where I was. He didn't start with drills. He didn't rush me. He started with something far more important, connection. He greeted me with a smile every time he came to pick me up out of my room in the rehab. And he just talked about my life, my hobbies, just normal things. He treated me like a person first. That's the clinical takeaway. You have to treat your patients like people first. That created psychological safety. And without safety, speech will not come back. It will not return. So on day one, my family filled the room. They had so many questions. They meant well, but it was too much noise, too many questions, and I had no voice to regulate the environment. So I waved my hands in the air like this to quiet them. That was my only form of communication. The clinical takeaway is, when patients are nonverbal, behavior is their communication. So it's gestural communication. Caregiver takeaway and therapist takeaway. Silence does not mean absence. It often can mean overload, as in that situation. In that situation, I didn't need more support. I needed less noise. So, by day 3, Mike gently pushed me, not too hard, but just enough. And I whispered, "Baby," barely audible. But here's what matters clinically. That wasn't just a word. That was respiratory, plus phonation, plus motor planning, all working together again. A full system activation. And Mike did not overreact. He didn't overwhelm the moment. He let it land. Therapist takeaway. Celebrate internally, but regulate externally. Too much excitement can push patients down. Day 6. 6 days later, Mike asked me to name 3 foreign languages. A simple task, but perfectly chosen. It was structured. It was predictable categories. It allows for supportive output. So I said English and got stuck. Mike scaffolded and said language. Then I said Spanish and got stuck again. And again, Mike scaffolded. Language. The clinical takeaway here is, this is called co-constructed speech. He wasn't testing me, he was building language with me. That reduced cognitive load and increases success. Then I said sign, and something changed. My confidence went up, my clarity improved, Mike noticed immediately. He leaned back and he asked me, is sign language really a language, Angel? The therapy takeaway here is watch for moments of spontaneous clarity, and that's what that was. It was spontaneous because it came from the inside of me, because this is a moment that matters to me. Sign language. Spontaneous clarity signals reduce motor planning load, emotional relevance, stronger neural pathways, and that's your entry point forward. And it was emotional relevance. I could feel it because the story I'm about to tell you is really close to my heart, even today. So Mike sat back and asked me, is sign language really a language? Now that's important. He followed my topic, not his plan, and that unlocked something, because suddenly I wasn't performing. I was sharing a story that was close to my heart. I started telling him a story, one word at a time, with pauses, with stuttering, but it was functional speech. I told him about teaching my son sign language. I started at the high chair with more, food, drink, and a few others. Now it was time for simple prepositions. He was now 9 months old. He was 6 months when I started teaching him the sign for food, drink, and hungry. But now it was time for simple prepositions. He had a big box in his room, so I put him in the box and made the sign for in, and then I took him out and made the sign for out. I did that like 4 times, and I didn't think he understood. But that night, the other thing I was teaching him was to stay in his crib. So he woke up in the middle of the night, crying, and I went in and patted him on the back and said, no, Garrett, it's night-night, it's night-night. He pushed himself away from the railing, and he made the sign for out. So I had to take him out. And but the clinical takeaway here is narrative speech emerges before fluency returns. So although I was stuttering, Mike didn't stop to correct me. Although sometimes I was mixing up words, it didn't matter. He still heard the main message. So he didn't overcorrect. And when I finished, the humor was there, the logic was there, the parenting was there. Caregiver takeaway. Speech loss is not intelligence loss, so treat the person accordingly. By the time I finished, Mike just sat there, mouth opened. You know, what he witnessed wasn't just speech coming back. It was me coming back, my identity. So what did Mike do right? He created safety, reduced pressure, scaffolded language, followed my lead, and valued communication over perfection. So by allowing me to stutter through it and struggle with my words, it didn't matter. He still understood the message. So most importantly, he waited, because recovery doesn't happen when you rush. It happens when you hold space long enough for the brain to reconnect. So, in closing, if you are a speech therapist, never underestimate a whisper. And if you're a caregiver and a speech therapist, silence does not mean absence. Never assume silence means nothing is there. If you're someone that's trying to find your voice again, start with one word. That's all it takes. Mine was baby. Okay, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and to leave a comment. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you next time. We're going to talk more about the importance of family education in my next video. Thank you. Bye.